Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me to here, and I have a review for you today. Yippee! Why does call it? It's not like today we're talking about the book of Boba Fett. I finally got the luxury to be able to watch the book of Boba Fett. And I finished it. And I remember when it came out, people were very much not happy about it, and I some reasons are kind of bullshit. Some of them are rooted in nostalgia, but I'm just going to play it straight, and we'll just keep it pushing. When the technically you have to finish Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Both of which I've reviewed here on I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me to. It should be in the backlog. But I digress. It opens with Boba Fett falling into the Sarlacc pit and basically clawing his way out. Very Shawshank Redemption-y in a way. He basically gets all his shit stolen from Jawas. Fucking criminals. And, he ends up getting taken prisoner by, Sand People. Tusken Raiders. And just over time, he just ends up like proving his strength as a warrior to them, and just naturally over time just slowly grows, and through his own knowledge, ingenuity himself, he helps the tribe do give access to certain things that they didn't originally have. Ultimately culminating in knocking out the Pike Syndicate spice train and charging them for protection. He ended up becoming an elevated member of their society, and as he states later in the show, like he was ready to sort of settle down and retire and leave, certain past parts of his life behind. Until this Tusken family gets completely fucking marked. Like I want to be clear, he spent years with these people. Years with these people. He was prepared to spend the rest of his life with them. In regards to timeline here, The Mandalorian takes place 10, 15 years after the events of Jedi Returns, Return of the Jedi, I mean to say. And if I'm keeping a buck, that means he spent a solid 15 years in the desert with his people. Which is not insignificant. Learning their ways, learning their methods and stuff like that, and functionally he just was at peace. And I thought this was I thought that was interesting, but obviously that's not what happened, because we see him at the end of Mandalorian season 2 murking Jabba the Hutt's original counselor, and just he comes back and starts trying to reestablish the daimyo ship of Tatooine, and if The Mandalorian was kind of like a spaghetti western, this was kind of like a Goodfellas type of thing, where you have a couple badass, it's less about fighting and murking motherfuckers and more about just setting, getting stability and peace. The Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett that we have is very much not a he's very much not a the Boba Fett of the past, like the bounty hunting, highest bidder type of thing. He's very much like, I am an old ass man. I am about to be too old to do shit. I want to retire, and I want to retire in peace. Now, retiring in peace is all well and good, but he has to earn it, and that's kind of what the Book of Boba Fett is about. And part of the reason why I don't think we're going to get a season 2 either. Maybe because it didn't do particularly well, but, even so, I do think that the way that they ended, the Book of Boba Fett, I think we've seen the end of the story of Boba Fett at this point. But let's get to it. We see, because this is an offshoot of the stuff going on with The Mandalorian, we get important aspects of Mando's story. So, if there is season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, this is season 3. I be damned what is, dictated on Disney Plus. Boba Fett, I think my biggest criticism of this is, because I don't want to get into too much detail of the wars and stuff and twists and things of that nature, because I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but I will say some of my real thoughts about this is that the thing that was grating and difficult, that kind of like that I didn't like about the show, wasn't anything of the characterization of Boba Fett. It wasn't really, the showing up of people like the Sheriff of Mos Espa, or Mando, or any number of like recurring guests, like people coming back, or even seeing fights between giant robots and fucking whatever the giant monster in the basement of Jabba the Hutt's palaces. It honestly does really come down to, as a casual Star Wars fan, I am so fucking over Tatooine. I am just, it ain't it. It ain't it. It ain't it. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't like the geopolitical aspect of Tatooine and getting into that more in detail. Like, we always knew it was seedy, but not how seedy and in what ways and things of that nature. For me, ultimately, it's really just, we've seen this sand planet in 1, 2, 3, 4 movies. I know it shows up at least once in the new trilogy. I have not watched them, and I don't necessarily want to per se. And it's also, we had basically a season's worth of appearances in just The Mandalorian alone of Tatooine. I am Dust Bowl planet burned out. The most interesting aspect of it that The Mandalorian introduced, which was the culture of the Tusken Raiders and like how they work. Book of Boba Fett went more deeply into that. I am completely satisfied. There's nothing else I care to learn about the planet that is intriguing to me as a casual viewer. And so that, I think, to me, is the biggest thing dragging Book of Boba Fett down. And it is ultimately just, I'm tired of the setting of Tatooine. I understand it is a important linchpin planet in the lore of Star Wars, but it is overseen, overdone, and I'm done with it. Please and thank you. I didn't see the Clone Wars, so I don't really have any opinion on like Cad Bane and his appearance and stuff. But also, Cad Bane, by like this point in time, is like is somewhere between, is probably like 40 to 50, is I think 50 years older than he was during the Clone Wars. And so it was if people might think the showdowns and stuff between Cad Bane and Boba Fett were underwhelming in a way, and you didn't see Boba Fett or Cad Bane necessarily performing the way you wanted. I need you to remember that this is a story about grandpas who have been fighting their whole fucking life, like, kinda being done. Cad Bane still wanted to go. He still had some more to do, but Boba Fett was like, I want to retire. I want to retire with my platonic life partner who I saved from certain death. I want to eat ridiculous foods and fix people's problems and be a good guy for once. And you know what? I completely get that, because you have to remember, even, before this, like, the sense of honor and stuff that Boba Fett did have, during, the events of the original trilogy, was he picked a side. One side paid him more. I would bet money, fat money, that if the rebellion had paid him, he would have been an ally. I think at least as far as Boba Fett's concerned, he was definitely it was just happenstance that he was on the opposite side of things, personally. But yeah, ultimately, I think the characterization they did of Boba Fett, while it is not the bona fide gunslinging awesome badass that like Boba Fett was in a lot of people's minds growing up and for the last 30-40 years of Star Wars existence, I am not that person. I am a Star Wars fan that very much is not obsessed with the lore. I do not care if your 10-year-old inner self's feelings are hurt. I think it's a really good characterization, and I think the story of Boba Fett was interesting. It's cool to see. I'm glad that I got the vibe from it that they are very much settling this character down. This is it. That is the gist of, like, that is all that we're going to really be doing with the character. Mando might call him in to help, possibly. We do not know. But I think, like, as far as, like, character arc, Boba Fett's story is complete in Disney's new verse of Star Wars. I think personally, I think it as itself was kind of like having all of Mando stuff in there, making it a mandatory watch did kind of suck. I probably would have enjoyed it more if that stuff was not present and he had just called Mando in on a job instead and did that instead. But honestly, I think, the Book of Boba Fett is a bridge between Mandalorian Season 2, Mandalorian Season 3, which I'm going to be watching next, Mandalorian Season 3. And I think that sans the Mandalorian-centric and important lore things going on there, I do think that, like, the Book of Boba Fett is just a nice addendum piece of, like, something to watch and that extrapolates more on a micro level. Like, you might have things like, the Star Wars movies and even Mandalorian to some extent are like more macro stories that, have like bigger consequences and stuff. But I do like the types of stories like Book of Boba Fett, and another good example is Castlevania Season 3. That just sort of prioritize just let's pick a slice of the world and let's extrapolate on it, and let's tell a story here in this little part. The rest of everything else going on be damned. And I honestly love it when people do that. I am definitely in the minority of that. Many of my friends also do not agree with me with that take. But for that, I would probably give the I would probably give the Book of Boba Fett a Sarlacc Pit Shank Redemption out of 10. Yes, that was corny. I don't give a fuck. If you want to support the show, please consider doing so at HIMedia.gg/tip. $1 a month is a boon to my mental health and gets you access to a bunch of exclusive content and early access videos in the Discord, among other perks. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you, your time, and your listenership. This has been I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me To, the HIMedia's premium dumping ground for homeless audio-based content. And now it just seems to be a review podcast. But you know what? I'm okay with that. Have a good one, everybody.